Bella's point of view. As he finished, there were tears falling from my eyes that I didn't notice when the minister said, Minister?
I'll be the minister. Bella, it is time for your vows that you have written for Edward.
Edward Anthony Cullen. Oh.
Edward Anthony Cullen. The first time I saw when I sat down in your English 2 class, I thought you were the most perfect person in the world, and I feel head over heels for you. You were the yin to my yang, my other half, and the only person who really understood me. When we first started dating, I couldn't believe you were really mine, and then when you wanted me to be a part of Haley's life right off of the back, that when I really knew you loved me. Knowing that I really didn't know what love because of my life story, but you did, and I knew that no obstacle in life would be too big for us to tackle, as long as we did it together. So today I bind myself to you and will be your wife, mother of your children, best friend and soulmate till death do us part. I love you, Edward, forever.
Do you, Edward Anthony Cullen, take Isabella Marie Swan to be your lawfully wedded wife and to have and to hold through sickness and in health for richer and poor, as long as you both shall live?
I do. I said.
Do you, Isabella Marie Swan, take Edward Anthony Cullen to be your lawfully wedded husband and to have and to hold through sickness and in health for richer and poor, as long as you both shall live?
I do.
I said.
Down to you, husband and wife, and you may kiss the bride.
He said. With that, Edward lifted my veil and crushed our lips together. Okay, and pulled us away to hear the clapping of family and friends. We walked back down the aisle with Edward's and my arms linked together as we exited the church, and Edward and me got into the limo and headed back to our house for the reception. Once in the car, Edward kissed me again, be longer and more passionate, and whispered in my ear,
I love you, Mrs. Cullen.
I giggled and relaxed in his arms and couldn't wait till we started our honeymoon together.
You turned into Robin Leach and Edward's internal monologue.
Disclaimer. I do not own anything. Chapter 5. The Honeymoon. Bella's point of view.
The reception was a total hit. We did everything traditionally. We shoved cake in each other's faces. We heard toasts from our families and friends. Edward removed my garter and tossed it in his cousin Mike's face, and I threw my flowers into Alice's surprised hands. Then when the music started up, Edward pulled me into his arms for our first dance. Because our first dance, as a married couple, our first dance was to the song.
My Angle!
My Angle by Celine Dion. I thought it was a perfect song for us. When the song was done, I was in tears because that was one of my favorite love songs. The dancing to was most perfect person in the most perfect person in the world would do that to me. Then it was father-daughter dance time, and I couldn't help but feel a bit sad because my father didn't care about me, so I would never get to do this with him on my special day. But I did feel a little bit more happy when I saw Edward dancing with Haley to the song because he loves me. As I looked, I saw Carlisle standing right in front of me smiling when he asked me,
Would you like this dance?
I was completely shocked he would ask me this, but I responded by saying,
I would love to, and thanks for asking me because this really means a lot to me.
Bella, you are my daughter now, and you will always be one to me.
I'm so touched by his words. I started to water at the eyes a little. As we started dancing, I couldn't help but stare at Edward as he danced with Hallie because it's the most beautiful sight I'd ever seen in my life, and hopefully one day soon I'll be able to give Edward one of our very own. Before I knew it was time for Edward and me to leave for our honeymoon. We were packed and ready to go. That is when we made our appearances. more like me making my appearance, and Edward just stared at me in awe by what I was wearing, which was blue strapless Gucci dress that came down right before my knees, and clear pumps that Atlas had chosen.
Z-snap.
I couldn't help but blush a dark shade of red as I looked in his face, his hand, and headed out to the awaiting limo. He kissed my hand and then moved out onto my lips, where the crowd behind us cheered as we got into the car. As we arrived at the airport, I was so curious as to where we were going. I think Edward noticed too, because he said,
It's a surprise, love.
I must have fallen asleep, because when I woke up, I was already on the plane. Yeah, because they really let you on fucking planes when you're asleep. What the fuck? First class, we're specific. Then I was confused when Edward carried me off the plane and into another terminal. So at least I knew we weren't honeymooning in this country, and I was still wondering where we were going, and my impatience was starting to get the best of me. When we got on our second flight, I quickly fell asleep in the arms of Evans because he had started humming my lullaby, and you shut up! And I was so ready from the first flight, and at last I was going to need all my energy for 2 minutes.
All of me energy.
Lucky charm.
The second time, I realized I was no longer on the plane, but I was in the back seat of another limo. Yeah, because she went through customs asleep.
Don't
That really
sit in his desk.
Sit down now.
When I was in the back seat of the limo, Edward's arm back around me. When he noticed that I was awake, he kissed my forehead and said,
Well, hello there, Mrs. Cullen. Did you sleep well?
I smiled to my new last name if I responded to his question.
Why, yes, I did, Mr. Cullen. How about you? Did you sleep well?
Why, yes, I did with you by my side. I always sleep well.
I turned a bright shade of red after he said that. When the limo stopped, I thought we were at the hotel, but when I got out of the car, we were at a pier, and there was a yacht waiting on the door. Edward saw my confused look in my face and said,
Yes, that boat is waiting for us. So come on, let's get going, my lady.
I was completely ready to get
God,
to
that
my
line
destination.
is now I have fucking Crazy Town Butterfly in my head. I love it.
I was completely ready to get to our destination, so Edward and me could have him and me alone time as a married couple. As we boarded the boat, Edward led me to a seat by the edge of the boat so we could look at the stars together. Then before I knew it, we were there. Edward pulled me off the boat and all our luggage, and we walked to the beach where there was a house that wasn't too grand, but it wasn't a small house either. The house had to have no less than 4 bedrooms, but it looked very cozy. I still had no idea as to where we were, but at that moment, that didn't matter to me because me and Edward were finally alone and together, so that meant I could do whatever I wanted to do with him without anyone watching me. Once the entire luggage was set down, Edward turned to me and pulled me into a long, passionate kiss.